There is a belief that most people bring into content creation that sounds reasonable but quietly causes enormous damage. The belief is this: quality is what drives results. If your content is good enough, people will find it. If your product is polished enough, people will buy it. If your offer is strong enough, the income will follow. And there is truth in that. Quality matters. But it is not the primary variable. And treating it as such produces a specific pattern. You spend more time on each piece than you planned. You revise more. You delay more. You publish less. And the income stays flat. Not because the content is not good, but because good content published inconsistently underperforms mediocre content published consistently. Every time. YouTube's recommendation algorithm, like most content platform algorithms, rewards consistent publishing. Not just because of the technical signals, but because of what consistency produces in human behavior. When you publish consistently, your audience learns when to expect you. They develop a habit of returning. They recognize your name and your format before they even click. That recognition is the foundation of trust. And trust is what eventually converts viewers into buyers. When you publish inconsistently, your audience does not develop that habit. Each video competes for attention as if you are a stranger. The relationship does not compound. From a platform mechanics standpoint, algorithms favor channels that publish regularly, because regular publishing signals commitment. It tells the platform that the channel is alive, active, and worth recommending to new viewers. A channel that publishes twice a week receives more algorithmic distribution than an equally good channel that publishes once a month. Not because the content is better, because the signal is stronger. Here is something most content creators do not fully internalize. Trust does not come from any single piece of content. It comes from repeated exposure to consistent quality. Think about it this way. The first time someone finds your content, they do not trust you yet. They are evaluating. Is this person credible? Do they understand my situation? Is this worth my time? The second time they encounter you, they remember you. There is a small amount of familiarity. The third and fourth time, familiarity becomes recognition. They start to know what you stand for. By the fifth or sixth encounter, they trust you. Not completely. Not unconditionally. But enough to consider a purchase. Now here is the math of inconsistency. If you publish once a month, getting a viewer to their fifth encounter takes 5 months. If you publish twice a week, it takes 3 to 4 weeks. The trust that leads to income arrives in weeks instead of months. Consistency collapses the timeline between stranger and buyer. Quality first thinking produces a specific cognitive pattern. Before you publish anything, you evaluate it against an internal standard. Is this good enough? Is this better than what is already out there? Is this the best version of what I could say about this topic? And if the answer is no or even not sure, you revise. You improve. You delay. The problem with this pattern is that the internal standard is never static. Every time you improve a piece, the standard rises, because you have just seen what slightly better looks like. And now slightly better still is not good enough. This is perfectionism. And it is not actually about quality. It is about avoiding the discomfort of publishing something that might not perform as well as you hoped. The antidote is not lowering your standards. It is separating good enough to help someone today from the best version of this I could theoretically produce. Published content that helps someone today is worth more than perfect content still in revision. Here is a practical framework for building consistency. The first component is the minimum viable piece. For each content format you use, define the minimum standard required to publish. Not perfection. Minimum viability. For a video, does it cover one specific topic clearly? Does it provide one actionable insight? Is the audio and narration clear enough to understand? If yes, it meets the minimum standard. Publish it. The second component is the publishing commitment. Set a specific, non-negotiable publishing schedule. Not when I have good content ready. Specific days. 2 videos per week, published on Tuesday and Friday. 3 LinkedIn posts per week, Published Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The schedule creates a deadline. Deadlines produce content. Waiting for inspiration produces paralysis. The third component is the 80% rule. Aim for 80% of your potential quality on every piece. 80% is achievable consistently. 100% is not achievable without inconsistency. 10 pieces at 80% quality published consistently outperform 3 pieces at 100% quality published sporadically. In every measurable outcome: reach, engagement, trust, and income. The fourth component is the review cycle. Rather than perfecting each piece before publishing, publish and then review in batches. Every 4 weeks, look back at what you published. What performed better than expected? What fell flat? What topic generated the most engagement? What format seemed to resonate? Apply those learnings to the next 4 weeks. This is improvement based on real data rather than guesswork before publishing. It produces better content over time while maintaining the publishing rhythm that drives growth. Let us be specific about what this looks like for someone building an income alongside a full-time job using CapCut to produce videos. 2 videos per week, 10 minutes each. Script writing time using Chat as a thinking partner is 60 to 90 minutes. CapCut production and review is 30 to 45 minutes per video. Total per video is approximately 2 hours. That is 4 hours per week for 2 videos. 4 hours per week. Not weekends consumed. Not evenings sacrificed. 4 hours distributed across a week. 2 90-minute sessions. Or for 60-minute sessions. Or a dedicated Saturday morning. The schedule is flexible. The commitment is not. 4 hours per week, every week, for 12 months. That is approximately 200 hours of content production. 200 hours of consistent, focused content production directed by specific experience in a specific niche produces a library that compounds. Old videos get discovered. Old content gets shared. The work you did in month 2 keeps generating viewers in month 9. Quality matters. Nobody is arguing that it does not. But quality matters at the level of genuinely useful to the person watching. Not at the level of better than anything else in existence. And at the genuinely useful level, consistency is the multiplier. Consistent, useful content builds the trust that turns viewers into buyers. Inconsistent, perfect content builds a portfolio that never quite reaches the people it was meant for. The consistency code is simple. Publish on a schedule. Meet the minimum standard. Improve from published data, not pre-publication anxiety. And let the compounding do the rest. If you want a system that makes consistency the default, the AI Content System Starter Kit gives you a repeatable process that ends each session with something published. No more staring at a blank page. No more inconsistent output. Just a clear sequence you follow each time. The link is in the description. And if you want to understand what consistent publishing compounds into over time, the free AI Catch-Up Calculator shows you the retirement math. Also in the description. Let us address the specific failure mode that most commonly breaks the consistency of people who start strong. The failure mode is what I call the motivation dependency trap. It works like this. In the first few weeks of building AI income, motivation is high. The idea is new. The possibility feels exciting. The work feels meaningful. And the consistency comes easily because motivation is carrying it. Then something happens. A video gets fewer views than expected. A week goes by without a product sale. Work gets busier than usual. Life creates friction. And the motivation that was doing the heavy lifting is no longer there. And without the motivation, the consistency disappears. Because the consistency was never actually built. It was borrowed from the motivation. And motivation is not a reliable long-term energy source for any sustained project. The people who maintain consistency for 12 and 18 months are not doing it because they are more motivated than you. They are doing it because they built consistency as a system rather than relying on motivation as a fuel. The practical difference is this. A motivation-dependent creator sits down to work when they feel like it and produces content when inspiration strikes. A system-dependent creator has a scheduled time, a defined process, and a minimum output standard that runs regardless of how they feel on any particular day. The system does not require inspiration. It requires following a defined sequence that starts with the same step every time regardless of energy level or enthusiasm. Open the script template. Write the opening 2 sentences. Continue from there. The process creates its own momentum once started, but it only starts because of the system, not because of the mood. Building that system takes about 3 to 4 weeks of deliberate practice. The first week you will resist the scheduled time on days when motivation is absent. The second week will be slightly easier. By the fourth week the sequence will feel more automatic and less dependent on how you happen to feel that day. That is the investment required to move from motivation-dependent to system-dependent consistency. It is uncomfortable for about a month. And then it becomes the thing that keeps you building when everyone else who started at the same time has quietly stopped.